Watch this. What is this? Murderers who blamed video game characters. Oh boy, I wish I could do that. Yeah. Just
Video
get away
games.
with it.
We all love them, right? Well, even if you don't, I'm sure you've at least played one video game in your life. I have some personal favorites like GTA, Undertale, and The Walking Dead Telltale games.
Based.
Funny enough, two of those series are actually in this.
One of my favorite playthroughs of all time was PewDiePie playing Walking Dead back in like when he actually did it the first time. That was, I don't know, that was like a different time. It was like a really good time.
This video. I'm very glad Undertale isn't. That is a spoiler. Yes, Undertale is not on this list. That would be crazy, blaming Sans for a killing. But like you read in the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about murderers who went out of their way to blame video games or video game characters. And if I look a little bit different, that's because I shaved. I lost a Minecraft bet over on my Twitch stream. This is literally not even to promote it. Editor, don't even put the link to my Twitch, but you can play the clip of me revealing my baby face. Let me know in the chat. Are you guys ready to see what I look like now?
Look like a baby!
Oh my fucking god! Oh my...
Dude, he aged down like at least 15 years. I don't know, but he looks like he's 10.
Fucking god! Oh my fucking god! I told you! Facial hair saves me! Yeah, so we're gonna have to be dealing with this for, I don't even know,
a couple of weeks.
Well, that's not the point of the
he does not grow facial hair fast, huh?
video. Without further ado, let's get straight into the...
Can this child stream? No! Don't bully him! He makes content. He's great. He's awesome.
Topic. GTA Vice City. You probably remember Vice City, the absolute gem of a GTA game set in the 80s where you play as Tommy Vercetti, a former convict climbing the criminal ladder in a city full of neon, bad hair, and suspicious white powder. In one particular mission, you literally break into a police station, shoot officers, and escape in a stolen patrol car. Obviously, this is just a video.
This goes kind of back to like just the previous video. Imagine someone says that GTA freaking Vice City is bad because it's a little bit janky. Just because it's old and a little bit like janky. Like, it just blows my mind. People would ream you out for less.
Video game. But on June 7th of 2003, that exact scenario played out in real life in Fayette, Alabama. And an 18-year-old named Devon Moore claimed the game taught him how to do it. It's pretty eerie because in that photo, Devon doesn't even look like the kind of guy you'd expect to be a killer. Fresh out of high school, no criminal record, and he just enlisted into the Air Force. He was actually supposed to ship out that summer. But on that Saturday night, Officer Arnold Strickland brought him into the police station on suspicion of stealing a car. Routine booking, nothing unusual.
GTA real life, I get it.
What happened next was anything but routine. According to Moore's own confession, he suddenly lunged at Officer Strickland and grabbed his .40 caliber Glock, 2 shots, one to the head. Officer James Crump heard the gunfire and came running down the hallway. Moore met him there and fired 3 more shots, again hitting the head. Then he walked to the dispatcher's office and put 5 bullets into Ace Mueller, the 911 operator.
Nah, that's evil. That's demonic.
Another headshot. 3 men dead in under a minute.
That's
all professional level marksmanship from someone who supposedly had never been in trouble before. And
I mean, I can't even say how. What?
And if that doesn't make sense to you, hold your breath because what happened next makes even less sense.
MK Ultra. Yeah, maybe.
After stealing a police cruiser and getting captured in Mississippi hours later, Moore told investigators something chilling. Life is like a video.
People always say like, oh, if you land headshots in video games, you can land headshots in real life. That's not how it works, man. That's insane. How did he manage to do that?
Video game. Everybody's got to die sometime. That made his defense attorney, Jim Standridge, argue that Moore had been essentially programmed by hundreds of hours of playing Grand Theft Auto.
No, that's not how it works. Shooting in real life does not translate from video games.
The game, he claimed, created a cranial menu that popped up in Moore's head during that split-second decision in the police station, combined with childhood and an underdeveloped teenage brain. The violent video game had turned Moore into a killer, and boom.
But that doesn't explain how he could have been so good at
Suddenly, the whole conversation was about video games.
This
Attorney
is
Jack
dumb.
Thompson went all in, and being a renowned
They brought the game into the courtroom?
anti-gaming crusader, he escalated it into filing a massive lawsuit against Take-Two
Wow.
Interactive, Sony, Walmart, and GameStop, calling Grand
Walmart!
Theft Auto a murder simulator that trained more to execute those officers.
That's not
and
how it
to be
works,
fair,
man.
not that this proves anything, but there actually is a mission in Vice City that mirrors exactly what Moore did. You infiltrate a police station, like I said before, you kill the officers, and you escape in their cruiser. The parallels are just genuinely unsettling. Anyway, that wasn't enough to get
Yeah, I keep fucking beating this dead horse of it. I don't think it's easy to shoot someone in the head. I think that's like demonic.
in favor with the judge.
Speed!
He even barred the jury from hearing testimony linking the game to the murders. In August of 2005, after deliberating for just over
Yeah, it
an
was
hour,
just crazy
the jury
and
convicted
sad.
Moore of capital murder. 2 months later, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
Wow.
He's still on death row at Hallman Correctional Facility in Alabama. His
What?
appeals have been repeatedly denied. Meanwhile, the civil
Wait,
lawsuit
they haven't put him away? They haven't sent him to God yet?
against the gaming companies
crazy.
dragged on for years before ultimately failing.
Just living
Before
on
we move on to
taxpayer
the next
money.
one, I do want to make it clear that I personally don't think video games turn people into murderers. It's always going to be something psychologically wrong with them.
Yes.
And then like they get obsessed. Like with the video we made before where they blame fictional characters, it's never like the fictional character that's telling the viewer or player, hey, you should go do this. It's not like that. Plus, these games have ratings for a reason, but just want to make that clear in case someone's like, why is Tove trying to paint a bad light on video games? No, dude, I love video games. But maybe I didn't need to say that. Maybe I did. Maybe there's that one person that was thinking I was thinking that way. Doesn't matter. Let's get on to the next one.
Yeah, again, Chad said the real problem is not the games. The problem is people who are unable to separate fiction from reality. Games are a scapegoat. They are the perfect scapegoat. If you have a lot of problems in your life, and this person obviously did, absolutely, man. Like, you are going to hide away from your problems on a video game. If there's something wrong with you, eventually something will happen that will make you snap. You turned me to the dark side now. I watch VTubers, only you really, but as an Aussie, I appreciate your humor. Also, the whole YouTube restriction thing has been affecting my For You page because I thought you would only upload one video a day, but you're uploading 2 videos a day. Keep up with the good work. Yo, thank you so much, White Fox. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Manhunt.
It is what
Now,
it is.
of course,
YouTube's
this
cringe.
game is on this list. By the way, a lot of this list does consist of minors who became murderers, and in most
Yeah.
cases, the media doesn't post pictures of minors just because they're
Fair.
not adults and can't really consent to publication, so don't be surprised if you don't see pictures of some people. So next is the case of a game where the whole point is to be as brutal as possible. Like, you sneak up on victims, and the more vicious your kill, the higher your score. Welcome to Manhunt, a game so
Manhunt.
violent that New Zealand outright
Hitman.
banned it. But in Leicester, England, a 17-year-old named Warren LeBlanc wasn't just playing it. According to his victim's family, he was inspired by it. So, February of 2004, 14-year-old Stefan Pakeerah thought he was meeting some girls at the local park. His friend Warren had invited him to Stoke Woods Park. Locals called it the Dumps, saying there were girls there waiting to
Dumps.
meet them. Stefan trusted Warren. They'd been
No, man. He tricked them. There's no hose.
friends for a while, and Warren was older, cooler. I mean, why wouldn't he go? But then, as you probably figured out by now, there were no girls. Just Warren, armed with a knife.
That's evil, man. Again, there's not to blame the game. Like, you're just an evil motherfricker.
And a claw hammer. Warren bludgeoned Stefan repeatedly with the hammer, then stabbed him multiple times. The attack was prolonged and vicious, and Warren didn't even try to run. 2 police officers
Aw,
found him
so
covered in Stefan's
sad.
blood, and he immediately
That's a
confessed.
friend.
Just like that, a 14-year-old was dead, and a 17-year-old's life was over. And according to Stefan's parents, it all perfectly mimicked the gameplay mechanics of Manhunt. See, Stefan
Yeah, totally. Yep, I will not take accountability of parenting, of knowing anything, of maybe talking to my child and figuring out what's wrong with him, or if he shows any signs. No, I'm just gonna ignore it and play a video game. I can absolutely agree. Maybe he did play too much of it, but at the same time, you should have been supervising him. It's the same thing as social media. You have the ability to have your child on social media at 16 years old, but you should still supervise them.
Stefan's mother, Giselle Pakeerah, had heard from Warren's friends that he was, quote, obsessed with Manhunt. The game, she said,
Yeah, then you should have fucking put child locks on it, or made him stop playing it less, or give him less access to it. If you stopped that, like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Had blurred the boundaries between fantasy and reality for Warren. The way her son was killed, the weapons used, the brutality, it all matched the game's stealth killing mechanics. The whole point of the game is to kill and to do it brutally. That's what Giselle told reporters, adding that it shouldn't be something young people have access to. Stefan's dad, Patrick, was on the same page. In his view, there was definitely some kind of connection between the game and what Warren ended up doing. But Warren's defense told a completely different story. His lawyer said this wasn't about video games at all. Warren owed money to a gang, about £75, and he was terrified. He'd planned to rob Stefan and pay off the debt, but the robbery went horribly wrong.
Oh my
Fear,
god.
not Manhunt, had driven him to murder. And the court seemed convinced enough and sided with the defense. Despite all the media attention linking the case to video game violence, the judge made it clear that the game played no official role in the prosecution. Warren was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 13 years, not for being influenced by a video game, but for cold-blooded murder during a robbery gone wrong.
Yeah, for $100, by the way. Again, yeah, like, obviously, base judge.
Still, the victim's parents kept pointing fingers at the game, not at the deeply messed up actions of the teen who actually took their son's life. Also, it's important to find out that detectives never found any direct link between the game and the murder, but that didn't stop the outrage. The case blew up and major retailers pulled Manhunt off their shelves. It was already rated 18+, and like I started by saying, it was even banned in New Zealand, but Stefan's death brought the whole "do video games cause violence" debate roaring back to life. In the end, Warren actually got out on parole in 2020, even though the victim's family fought hard to keep him locked up. The Walking Dead.
He only got 15 years? Like, barely? Nah. You killed someone, you should get life, no?
Telltale Games. Oh yeah, since I didn't say this in the beginning,
Wow.
Spoiler warnings for some of these games. Some of the gameplay might have spoilers in them. So if you haven't finished The Walking Dead Telltale Games, which you should, it's an amazing game,
man.
You might want to skip this. This is Nicholas Prosper, 18 years old, glasses, yellow bucket hat. He honestly looks like the kind of dude you'd see at a university or working part-time somewhere. But on September 13th of 2024, this seemingly ordinary guy from Luton shot his entire family dead with a shotgun. Then, he planned to massacre 30 school children at his former primary school.
What?
And it all started with a video game character named Clementine. Yes, probably one of the most innocent and wholesome characters.
The Walking Dead made him do this? Nah, lock him up. This is Asylum. The Asylum. Straight jacket.
Ever written in video game history. Clementine isn't some violent anti-hero or villain.
No,
she's actually just a little...
She's the one that grounds him and keeps him in reality because she's so sweet. Yeah, I watched the whole... I never played it myself, but I watched the whole PewDiePie playthrough, and it's so emotional.
Girl that you take care of throughout the entirety of the first part of the game. That's literally it. It's almost like a daughter figure. And then later in the games, you get to play as her. So there isn't... the only violent thing she does is murder bad guys, which you do like in almost every video game, and zombies, or as they like to call it in the game, walkers. But for Nicholas, she became something much more twisted. He declared himself, quote, "chosen by Clementine," and said he was, quote, "guided as Christians are guided by Jesus Christ." And this wasn't some sudden breakdown. Nicholas had been planning this for over a year, meticulously researching mass shootings and studying the Hook Elementary massacre. He specifically wanted to kill around 30 people to achieve a higher death toll than other shooters. His goal was to become the world's most famous shooter of the 21st century. But first, he had to deal with his family. At around 5 in the morning that Friday the 13th, a day he'd chosen deliberately, Nicholas grabbed the double-barreled shotgun he'd bought illegally the day before using a forged license. CCTV footage shows him carrying the weapon through the Luton Council flat. His plan was to kill his mother, Juliana, of 48 years old, and his siblings, Kyle, age 16, and Giselle, age 13, while they slept. 3 quick shots, under 30 seconds, then wait until 8:30 in the morning before heading to St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School. But Juliana woke up earlier than expected and saw Nicholas armed with a shotgun. What followed was an extended, violent struggle that neighbors could hear through the walls. Juliana suffered defensive wounds on her hands and arms from being attacked with a knife before Nicholas shot her in the head at close range. Her body was found in the hallway. Poor Giselle had woken up during the commotion. Nicholas fired at her, grazing the back of her head. She fled to the living room and tried to hide under the dining table, but Nicholas pursued and shot her in the face. Kyle had grabbed a kitchen knife to defend himself, but
And again, you try and blame a video game for something so horrific and demonic. I can't help but think to myself, like, why would you ever do this?
Shot him in the chest from a distance,
For
then stabbed him over
what?
100 times while he begged for his life. Despite his injuries, Kyle managed to escape to the
There's a
hallway
special
before
place
Nicholas
in
finished
hell
him
for
off with a
people like
gunshot
this.
to the head. But why was there so much hate towards his
Yo,
family in
Big
the first
Bear,
place?
thank you for
Well,
the
in a
25,
video he posted
man.
online,
Thank
he specifically
you.
mentioned his sister Giselle, saying, quote, "Her face will be mutilated further than necessary," end quote. And you want to know why? Because she made an incorrect choice in the Walking Dead game a few months earlier.
We have a mental health crisis in the world, man. Over what?
In case you don't know, the Walking Dead game consists of making decisions. That's the whole point of Telltale Games. And that was his reason for doing that to his sister.
Guys, you didn't pick the correct thing. Now I'm gonna have to end you. What? No, in America, buddy. Everywhere. Oh my lord! Yo! Big Bear, thank you for the 50! Yo, Euler here. Damn, dude, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Also, incorrect choice. I mean, your story can become anything. Like in the game,
If
you
you got
decide
me,
your
it's a
story. So
simplicity,
there really
thank
isn't an
you.
incorrect thing to do. If you want a specific ending, you can do it. Anyway, after losing it in his flat, Nicholas left around 5:33 in the morning, heading towards St. Joseph's Primary with a loaded
That is
shotgun and
mind-blowing,
33
man.
rounds. But the chaos had thrown off his plan. Cops were already swarming the area, and the school wasn't even open yet. He ditched the gun in some bushes and hid in the roads for over 2 hours. 2 hours later, he was caught.
You hid in the road for 2 hours. That's what a mentally well person does, huh? Is that a piss jug? Yeah, maybe they were like peeing in there so they wouldn't move.
Wandering down Birmingham Road. Officers saw blood on his face and arrested him on the spot. Nicholas
Oh my god, good thing too. Goodness.
kept saying, "It's
That's
not murder."
scary.
But when police found the shotgun, they also found a hand-drawn classroom map labeled with the words "Kill All." In March of 2025, he pled guilty to 3 murders and got life with a minimum of 49 years. And to this day, it's still not totally clear how Clementine inspired any of it. Call of Duty Warzone, February 16th, 2024. Tooele, Utah. A 911 call comes in around 7:30 p.m. A man is unconscious and bleeding from his head. The caller sounds panicked, describing blood spattered everywhere, on the bed, the
Overcod.
headboard, even the ceiling. When the police arrive at the house on Mill Creek Way, they find a 32-year-old man with a gunshot wound to the back of his head and multiple defensive wounds on his face, hands, and arms. But here's what made the case absolutely shocking. The person who killed him was his own 9-year-old son.
Okay, I've heard the story of a guy that tried to murk another kid because he got really, really mad in a video game, but this is like another level of fucked up. What? 9 years old and it's your own son?
Now, child homicides are incredibly rare, but what really
Yeah,
caught
they
investigators'
are.
attention wasn't just the age of the killer, it was the choice of weapons and how he used them. The boy had shot his father in the back of the head with a
I didn't even know what a gun was, to be honest, when I was 9 years old, I don't think. Maybe I played games with guns in them, but I didn't, like, know what they were. What the fuck? How did a kid have easy access to the gun, too?
9mm handgun, then attacked him with a tomahawk hatchet. Police found the bloody hatchet at the scene, along with the gun hidden under the
An
victim's bed.
axe.
You could think that this was just some incredible random act of violence, but the police didn't think of it that way, because the weapons and the specific way they were used perfectly matched the boy's favorite game, Call of Duty Warzone. According to the search warrants, 8 people were in the house that night: the victim, his son, 2 adult roommates, and their 4 young children. The father
Holy
and the son had to
shit.
go to bed early in the room they shared,
That's
apparently due
chaos.
to the boy's behavioral problems. Later, the 9-year-old
Yeah, when there's a lot of people in a house, too, that aren't, like, your family, that fucks with you as a kid. Why is a 9-year-old playing COD? Oh, because there's so many people in the house, they probably don't put away things, and they just let him do whatever they want, and he has behavioral issues, and if he doesn't get what he wants, it's probably, like, another reason for them to, like, give them what he wants, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's all just a cascading effect.
boy came from the bedroom
Yeah.
and calmly told the other adults that his dad was bleeding from his head and was dead. The investigators said that this was calculated and very specific. Like, the gruesome and violent methods used were completely inconsistent with what you'd expect from a child that age. Most 9-year-olds don't even know these weapons exist, let alone how to use them effectively. But this kid was an active...
And they're not secured either. Again, like... I can't even think to myself, like, most normal people, they have like a gun safe. If they have kids, they don't ever let the kids like handle it, so they don't know where it is, you know? Like, that's kind of like what normal parents do, but I'm guessing it was just out and about.
Online gamer who spent hours playing Warzone, where players regularly use both 9mm handguns and tomahawk hatchets as standard weapons. Other people in the house confirmed that the boy commonly played this game, and investigators believe he essentially recreated what he'd done thousands of times virtually.
Okay,
so yeah, they went ahead with the gaming theory, but that doesn't make it any easier. As far as we know, Utah law says kids under 10 can't be held in a detention center. The court had to decide if a 9-year-old could be competent to stand trial. His defense attorney argued that sharing incomplete info about the case could mess with both the legal process and the boy's future. As of now, his legal status is still unclear.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, how do you prosecute a 9-year-old that can like barely understand like the concept of like following a story? He was 9. Yeah, I don't get it, man.
GTA 4.
How would you even approach
GTA
this?
again on this list. By the way, it's not the last time we're going to be talking about it, but sadly, like the last case, this is also involving a child becoming a killer. So, an 8-year-old boy in Slaughter, Louisiana, was spending a quiet Thursday evening playing video games while his elderly caregiver...
Is this underground, dude? Oh my god.
...was watching TV
I
in
love
the
this
living room.
game, dude.
Sounds pretty normal, right? But what happened next shows just how twisted things can get when virtual violence
GTA
meets real
4.
life.
I thought it was underground
August
for
22nd
some
of
reason.
2013. Marie Smothers, an 87-year-old woman, was sitting in her living room watching television when the 8-year-old child she was watching walked up behind her and shot her in the back of the head with a .38 caliber handgun. She died instantly from the gunshot wound. Just minutes before pulling that trigger, the boy had been playing GTA 4 on his...
Why is an 8-year-old playing GTA 4? What? Like, my parents didn't fucking like me playing anything until maybe like age 13, and even then, man. And before Fortnite, I'm just like lost on this
3.
earth, man.
I feel like everyone here knows what the GTA games are about. But to sum it up quickly, like we did with Vice City, you get to kill people, carjack, and generally cause mayhem in the most realistic way possible. At first, the kid tried to play it off as an accident. When police arrived at the Country Breeze mobile home park, he told investigators he'd accidentally shot Smothers while playing with the firearm. But the evidence showed something different. The shot was...
That shows actual intent, though. Like, if a child does that, I think that's probably, like, irrefutable evidence that it was premeditated. If they're, like, lying and skirting. If you're truly sorry, even if you're a kid and you messed up, I don't know, like... What the fuck?
Too precise, too deliberate. You don't accidentally execute someone with a single bullet to the back of the head. So was this just something he did for fun or out of curiosity? According to relatives and family friends, Marie and the boy had a completely normal, loving relationship. They even shared the same bedroom. She wasn't some stranger or someone he feared, she was his caregiver, possibly even his grandmother according to some reports.
I'm a bit sus of that.
So what could drive an 8-year-old to murder someone who loved him? Well, police believed it was the video game. Grand Theft Auto 4 is methodically about violence. And once again, the company found itself right in the middle of a storm of criticism. Take-Two Interactive, the company behind GTA, immediately rejected any connection between their game and the shooting. They released a statement saying the incident emphasized the urgent need...
Why would it be the kid? And again, the question still stands. Why do you have a gun that's loaded and it's not put away into a gun safe? No, nobody knows. It's just laying around.
For America to address the availability of dangerous weapons to people who obviously shouldn't have access to them. And whose gun was it? Eerily enough, it belonged to Marie Smothers herself. Also, let's not forget that people were completely ignoring the fact that the game was rated M for mature, meaning it's designed for players 17 and older. This 8-year-old shouldn't have been anywhere near GTA 4. Yet somehow he wasn't just playing it, it seems he was also learning from it as well. And just as the previous case, the legal situation became incredibly complex because Louisiana law exempts children under 10 from criminal responsibility. The boy couldn't be charged with murder, couldn't be sent to juvenile detention, couldn't face any consequences for taking a life. He was simply released to his parents that same night.
What?
Half-Life.
That's no.
Mod. Natural selection? Now, if you notice, this one does have a question mark in the title. And you're gonna
Can you imagine being that kid's parents? Yeah, just casually just freaking killed someone. I'd be scared. What the hell?
why. January 10th of 2020. Colegio Cervantes, a private school in Torreon, Mexico, an 11-year-old 6th grader named Jose Angel Ramos walked into his classroom that Friday morning looking completely normal. Good grades, well-behaved, lived with his grandparents, nothing about him screamed danger. But he told some classmates that, quote, today is the day. Around 8:20 in the morning, Jose asked his teacher for
Don't come
permission
to school
use the
today,
restroom.
kids.
Pretty routine request, right? But after 15 minutes, his English teacher, Maria Asaf Medina, got worried and went to check on him. That's when she found him walking out of the restroom with 2 handguns in his hands. But Jose wasn't just having a random breakdown. He was dressed for the occasion.
Oh my
White t-shirt
lord.
with natural selection printed on it, black pants, and suspenders. Does that remind you of anything? That's exactly what Eric Harris wore for the massacre 21 years earlier. But authorities focused on something else, the video game connection. Governor Miguel Riquelme quickly announced that Jose had been influenced.
I think people who like get obsessed with school shooters and start talking about them like and glorifying them. There's a difference between like making a documentary and showing what happened to that day, like you're a YouTuber doing research, and someone who like unironically like worships them. And I remember there was like a girl in my school that did that with the Columbine shooters, and I always was like, man, you're fucking crazy. You're insane.
By a first-person shooter game named The Natural Selection.
Dahmer, like
pointing
all
to the
those
teacher as
killers, like
evidence.
what's wrong with
According to
you?
Riquelme,
Like of all the things you can be obsessed with, like I don't know, anime or I don't know, fucking could be really into like animals or something, be a furry. Like god damn, like why people that just massacred them?
the boy had tried to recreate scenarios from the game, turning his school into a virtual battlefield. The thing is though, Natural Selection isn't even a shooting game. It's a mod for Half-Life that's about killing aliens. So exactly
That's
how was an 11-year-old
bad.
supposed to replicate that? The
Grrr.
video game theory started falling apart pretty quickly when experts examined it. Yet Natural Selection was a philosophy embraced by the Columbine shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. They believed they were superior beings eliminating the weak, and Jose was paying tribute to that. But he wasn't done with
So what, the Alien movie is also like alien propaganda? You shouldn't do that. What?
his performance. When Maria confronted him and begged him to stop, he raised his weapons, a 25 caliber Raven pistol and a 40 caliber Glock, and opened fire. He shot the physical education teacher and 5 students first,
That's
then
so
turned his
sad,
attention to
dude.
Maria.
It's
She died
disgusting.
instantly from her wounds. After completing his rampage, Jose turned one of the guns on himself and pulled the trigger. The whole attack lasted maybe 3 minutes, but it left a teacher dead, 6 others wounded, and an entire community traumatized. And while we don't really know if he was inspired by the game or by Eric Harris specifically, throwing my 2 cents in here, I think he was inspired by the shooter specifically, and Riquelme
Yeah.
noticed that there was a mod for Half-Life of the same name of what the kid was wearing. That's just my 2 cents though. To be fair, they did find out that he had a serious gaming addiction, but that's not all. His mom had died during surgery years earlier, his dad was a convicted meth trafficker doing time in El Paso.
Guys, I think I cracked the code. Maybe because he didn't have parents.
And the grandfather he lived with, also tied to drug trafficking, with millions in shady money
Wow,
transfers.
no parental figure inside. I wonder why the mental illness kind of took hold. That's crazy.
Running through his
I think I
accounts.
cracked
In
the
fact,
code,
it was
Chad.
the grandfather who gave him the gun.
I think that having good parents and stable life kind of, offsets your potential mental illness, and people with mental illnesses can still be loved and be normal. Wow, that's crazy.
Guns. And that's why he, the
Wow.
grandfather, was eventually arrested and charged with homicide by neglect
couldn't be,
for leaving his guns where a child could access them. He was also investigated for money laundering and tax evasion with connections to the
Wow, the criminal doing criminal things. What? No way.
Argentine drug lord Mario
The
Roberto
grandpa
Segovia,
was a
but that's
drug
a story for
lord.
another day. World of Warcraft.
Oh, shit.
Notice how this one also has something in the title, and that is quotation marks. There's a reason for that. This guy is Anders Behring Breivik, middle-class Norwegian,
this guy.
well-educated, the kind of person you'd see at a coffee shop and never think twice about. But in 2011, he became the author of Norway's deadliest peacetime attack, killing 77 people in a single day. He spent the year before the massacre playing video games for 16 hours a day. Now, when most people hear about someone playing games that much, they think lazy basement dweller or gaming addiction or maybe even top 1% competitive gamer. But Breivik wasn't some directionless loser. He was methodically preparing for mass murder. He was using World of Warcraft as the perfect cover story. Back then, he was 32 years old living with his mom when
32 back then?
Suddenly he announced that he was going to be spending the next year playing video games full time. I've personally never heard of anyone saying they're making an announcement, saying that they're going to be playing video games for the next year. But anyway, let's continue.
You just do it.
The family thought he lost his mind. Friends were worried about him. Everyone was asking what went wrong. But that's exactly what Breivik wanted. While his mother was horrified and his sister in Los Angeles thought he was having a breakdown, he was actually planning the most devastating terroristic attack in Norwegian history. The gaming excuse was extremely interesting, honestly. It explained why he never left his room, why he didn't answer his phone for days, why he'd become so isolated. His family bought it completely. His mother even told psychiatrists later that she felt like she was in prison with him, that he'd become unfortunately intense and strange. But while everyone thought he was wasting his life on fantasy,
it's kind of scary. That actually makes a lot of sense because people, when they prepare to do something that horrible, they have to like get into like the mindset of following through with it. It's like psychologically weighing on them, and he tricked them. Yeah. Wow, I didn't even think about it that way.
Games, Breivik was also playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And unlike World of Warcraft, which was just the cover story, Modern Warfare was actually teaching him skills he'd later use to hunt down teenagers on Utoya Island. I use the term teaching him very loosely there, like I said.
I would argue because it's a little bit more realistic. I am putting this in quotation marks. Don't fucking come after me. It's more realistic than the GTA argument of like, oh, well, he learned how to shoot people there, you know?
It wasn't literally the video game teaching him how to do this, but he was learning from it. You know what I mean? The game uses what at the time was incredibly realistic military simulation technology, the same holographic sight systems that actual armies use for training. Breivik spent months drilling target acquisition, learning how different weapons behave, practicing the kind of precise shooting that would later make him so devastatingly effective during his rampage.
Dude, this was peak COD,
honestly. Games and suddenly snapped.
It just felt good.
Breivik had been planning these attacks for years. He joined shooting clubs, traveled across Europe buying weapons, even rented a remote farm where he could manufacture explosives. The games were just one piece of his elaborate preparation. When the attacks finally happened on July 22nd of 2011, they were terrifyingly methodical. First, he detonated a massive bomb outside government buildings in Oslo, killing 8 people. Then he drove to Utoya Island, dressed as a police officer, and convinced the youth camp organizers to send a ferry to pick him up. They thought he was there to provide security after the bombing. Instead, he spent an hour and 20 minutes systematically hunting.
Man, I watched a documentary on this and it was so fucked up. Like, if you actually, like, watch it.
Down 69 people, mostly teenagers.
He tricked them and stuff. And there was, like, recounts of the victims and stuff of them being like, yeah, we thought that he was gonna help us.
Calculated movement.
It's horrifying.
The kind of tactical efficiency you'd expect from someone who'd spent months practicing virtual combat scenarios. After the massacre, investigators found that Breivik had been connected to other gamers online, sharing his extremist views and building a network of like-minded individuals. He'd even sent his 1,500-page manifesto to over 1,000 people just hours before the attacks, including gaming buddies who had no idea what he was planning. During his trial, Breivik showed zero remorse and actually seemed proud of his gaming preparation. He talked about how the holographic sights in Modern Warfare were so user-friendly that anyone could become an expert marksman with enough practice. He essentially turned video gaming into weapons training. He was sentenced to 21 years in prison, which is the maximum under Norwegian law, but with possible extensions if he's still considered dangerous. The guy
for a massacre of that caliber? Norway L. I'm sorry. Norway L.
Currently sitting in a high security facility where, get this, in a really bizarre twist, he actually has access to video games as part of his rehabilitation program. I don't know either.
Maybe not COD. Maybe not COD, right?
GTA 3.
You see him on Battle battlefield. No.
Now, back in 2003,
No,
Aaron
shut
Hamill
up.
was driving down Interstate 40 in Tennessee on a perfect summer, admiring the mountain flowers with his cousin, when their windshield suddenly exploded. Blood and glass
Holy.
sprayed everywhere as Hamill slumped over with a bullet hole in his head. In another car behind them, 19-year-old Kimberly Bede heard what sounded like a tire blowout until a bullet shattered her hip and lodged fragments in her spine. The police quickly found the shooters hiding in the bushes, two stepbrothers, 16-year-old William and 14-year-old Joshua Buckner. They had been
Holy
firing at
shit.
passing cars from a hillside overlooking the highway. And why were they doing this? Because they wanted to shoot at trucks and
Because
cars
it's
just like
fun,
they did
Lamau.
in GTA 3, they said. These kids had clean records, decent grades, and lived in a nice house on a golf course in Newport, Tennessee. But both had been dealing with serious trauma that their parents didn't fully understand. William had suffered brain damage as an infant and struggled with rejection from his biological
Ooh.
father, who refused to acknowledge him even on his deathbed. Joshua's mother
Wait, that's so fucked up. Yeah, I heard if you like I've read studies, like read them as in like for school. If you get brain damage because of how your brain functions, it pushes on like an aggressive part of your brain, and that can make you incredibly susceptible to being violent even though you don't have a violent history. It's really sad. Yeah, traumatic brain injuries, like with football players, people get into car crashes, it can really, really mess with your head. Obviously.
had died when he was 11, leaving
What?
him emotionally shattered and bouncing between ADHD medications. When
Oh
their
my
parents married and blended
God!
families, the
This
boys
guy's
found
just
comfort
really
in each other and in their
unlucky.
basement gaming setup. They had a giant screen TV, foosball table, and PS2, where they spent hours playing GTA 3. Joshua's
Wow.
older stepbrother had given him the game for his birthday, and the parents didn't really
Parents didn't do anything about it. Dude, if my brother gave me an R18 game for my birthday, my mom and dad would beat his ass.
grasp what they were doing in the game besides crashing cars.
What
If only
parents?
they knew what the GTA series was about, I mean, it could have prevented all of this. On that June evening,
I guess they're foster parents? I don't know. I kind of missed that part.
after playing GTA for a while, Joshua got restless. The virtual shooting wasn't enough anymore. He suggested to William that they go shoot at real trailer trucks on the nearby interstate.
Yeah, let's
like in
go
the
do
game.
it, yippee!
William, who was slower and more easily influenced due to his brain damage, went along with the plan. The boys waited until their parents were watching TV, then snuck into their bedroom and grabbed two .22 caliber rifles. They told the parents
Again, how did you manage to grab them out in the open and they're all loaded and they have the ammo and it's not locked up? I don't know.
Wayne and
Yeah,
Donna
who just leaves their guns out? Like, I feel like every person I've ever talked to that's had a gun, they always say they have a gun safe, they don't keep it around the kids, they don't pull it out in front of the kids. If they pull it out in front of their kids, they never have the kids in the room and stuff. Like, I don't know. Seems pretty standard, no?
were gonna ride the four-wheeler and got permission to stay out until dark. But instead of actually doing that, they headed to a spot overlooking I-40 where they'd previously
Goes
shot at
into the
pigeons.
pillow. Yeah,
William
dude.
positioned himself facing west down the highway, Joshua faced east, and they started firing at passing vehicles. After more than 20 shots, they hadn't hit anything. But William had a few bullets left, so he kept firing. That's when they heard the rubber squeal and saw Aaron Camel's red truck
Oh my
careen
God,
across the
man.
median into oncoming traffic. The boys panicked and ran home, initially claiming they'd been shooting at pigeons that accidentally flew toward the highway. But when police questioned them 2 days later during a polygraph test, they broke down and confessed. They specifically told investigators they got the idea from Grand Theft Auto. They thought they were recreating what they did in the game. That confession set off a $246 million lawsuit against Sony, Rockstar, and Walmart. The victims' families claimed
That's
the game basically
crazy.
trained the boys to kill. But since they were under 16, they faced juvenile court and not adult charges. They got detention until they turned 19. As for the lawsuit, well, it fizzled out like most cases trying to blame video games for real-life violence.
Yeah, but then nobody mentions how they literally didn't have parents and one of them had actual trauma to the head.
Tried blaming video games in general. This next case is about a basketball game that never happened and instead led to one of Hong Kong's most disturbing, quote, killing games. This was back in 2018, when 21-year-old Xiao Jai got stood up by his friend for, a round of basketball. And most people would have been annoyed and moved
Okay,
on,
yeah,
but
it
Xiao's
sucks.
reaction was far from
Life
normal.
sucks.
He started fantasizing about dismembering and killing this guy who
Alana didn't come to stream? I'm gonna fucking go Super Saiyan, dude.
just disappointed
very
him.
healthy
Xiao had been
thoughts,
playing
right,
graphic
Chad?
video games for so long that virtual brutality had become his reality, and now he wanted to see what
I'm gonna say something. I think there's a certain amount of people in the world that there's just something really, really wrong with their head, and I think they just need to be in a padded room in a cell. They just can't control their emotions. They just go from 0 to 100, and it's not their fault. It's either like their parents, they don't have parents, maybe they just rolled the genetic dice really low, they're angry, they can't control their emotions, that kind of thing. You just need to like put them in a padded room and, you know, give them fruits and stuff and feed them, I don't know, like Fruit Loops. I don't know. How do you go from that when the person stood you up for a basketball game? You're acting like they killed your puppy or something.
Real violence felt like. So Xiao invited his 30-year-old friend over to his apartment,
telling
him they'd have dinner and play a new game together. His friend, who had a moderate mental disability and trusted Xiao completely, agreed without suspicion. After all, they were best friends. What could go wrong? When his friend arrived, Xiao explained the rules of his, quote, new game. He needed to be blindfolded and have his hands tied up. The friend, thinking this was some harmless activity, went along with it. He let Xiao tie him up and put a blindfold over his eyes, making himself completely helpless. That's when Xiao revealed what his, quote, game really was.
Oh my god.
He grabbed the knife and slashed his friend's neck, then stabbed him 4 more times while the victim was bound and blindfolded. Blood started gushing everywhere, and his friend screamed in pain and terror, realizing too late that it wasn't a video game at all. Xiao later told authorities he'd been playing too many graphic video games that had given him what he called a taste for violence.
There are people who have 0 interactions with video games that do horrible shit like this. If I was the judge, I'd throw that out instantly. Yeah, it was the games officer, I swear. And if it wasn't the games, it's like, oh no, it's something else. Shut up.
Actual killings he'd been doing on screen had desensitized him to real brutality, making him curious about what it would actually feel like to hurt someone for real. But then Xiao's fantasy met reality in the worst possible way. When he saw the blood pouring out of his friend's wound.
Guys, I played DBD Killer. I know exactly what it's like to kill someone. I'm just a rawr, scary killer.
Like, he suddenly got scared and realized what he'd actually done. This wasn't a video game where you could reset or respawn. This was real life, with real life consequences. Panicking, Xiao called the police himself and confessed to the attack. Xiao was only sentenced to 6 years in prison. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Our last case is this 15-year-old Russian kid named Alexi Maximov, who'd been spending way too much time playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. He was seriously
PUBG!
obsessed with this video game. But here's the thing. All that virtual killing wasn't
Did he get really, really mad because he got, I don't know, clowned on?
Cutting it for him anymore. He also wanted to know what actual murder felt like. April 30th of 2018, Moscow. Daria Evdokimova, a 21-year-old university student, was just doing something completely normal, withdrawing cash from an ATM. She had no clue that Alexi was lurking nearby with a kitchen knife, planning something absolutely twisted. And just like other—
But you don't— In PUBG, you're just playing Battle Royale. You're not just premeditatively walking up and— Bro.
Cases, Alexi wasn't some hardened criminal or troubled kid with a record. His parents said he'd never been in trouble before. Seemed like a regular teenager who just happened to game a lot. But somewhere along the way, his obsession with virtual violence had crossed a really dark line. So that night, Daria was walking away from the cash machine with the money she just withdrawn, and Alexi followed behind her like some kind of predator. He'd been planning this, not as a robbery, not out of anger, but because he wanted to recreate scenarios from his favorite video game in real life. When he finally attacked, it was absolutely brutal. Alexi stabbed Daria a dozen times in her neck, eyes, head, and chest. She died right there on the street. A police officer actually witnessed the attack and chased after him, but Alexi managed to escape. He grabbed the cash she'd withdrawn and disappeared.
It's too nice to call him an animal. You're literally a demon.
Into Moscow streets. But you couldn't really hide in 2018 Moscow, where surveillance was well implemented. Police used CCTV cameras and mobile phone signals to track him down, following his digital trail back to his family home. And when they burst into his bedroom to arrest him, they found Alexi calmly playing PUBG, his favorite game, virtually killing more people like nothing had happened. The kid—
This reminds me of a story of a man that was really in love with a cam girl, and his parents took away his credit card. He's like a 40-year-old man. They took away his credit card, so what he did is that he faked going to rehab for his problem of being obsessed with cam girls. And when he came back after 3 months, he pretended to be still fine for 2 weeks. and then one day he just killed all of them, took their credit cards, and what they assumed happened is he parked in a supermarket lot and to a cam girl, and then he drove home, and I think he killed his brother too, but I can't remember exactly. But anyway, they just like, basically what happens is with people like this, they're so insane that they just go back to doing what makes them feel good, and what they did before that just doesn't affect them at all. Like, they don't mourn them, they don't get sad, they just go back to doing what they think is like right.
He didn't even resist arrest. He confessed
Absolutely.
immediately and explained to the police he hadn't really intended to kill Daria at first, but that, quote, a voice inside me told me what had to be done, end quote. Then he admitted he always wanted to see what it looked like when someone died by his own hand.
Disgusting.
In the end, Alexi was charged with murder. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video.
The voices
If you guys
told
like the way I
them
explained
to,
this
so must be
topic, make
real.
sure to leave a
Gotta
like.
do
If
it.
you think I earned your subscription, it would be awesome if you could subscribe. And if you made it this far, let me know what's your favorite video game of all time. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time I upload.
My favorite game of all time. I don't know. I don't play WoW anymore. I can't say. Probably WoW. I don't know. Single player game. That's a tough one too, because like I have like top 10, top 5. Hard to say. Dead Space. You guys like Dead Space? Anyway, chat, if you ever see anyone display symptoms of uncontrollable rage or emotion and saying like, I'm gonna actually unironically hurt someone over this, please tip someone off. I don't know, like do something about it. You'd never want to like know that maybe you could have stopped it or something. Yeah, antisocial behavior, stuff like that.